If you've watched the AgilePoint platform overview, you may notice small overlap with the content in this video. In this next video segment, we'll focus around creating process-based applications. To do so, from the AgilePoint portal homepage, I'm going to select my portal level menu and click on Build Apps. Next, I'll want to select the application that I'd like to edit. And select my product lifecycle application. Next, I'll start with my process model. Where previously we had created form-based apps or data-driven applications, the process-based applications will build upon that experience by introducing a series of approvers, workflow actions, as well as the ability to model business logic in the form of conditions. So before we get too far into this application here, let's look at some of the general tooling that will enable you to easily create process-based applications of any complexity. On the left-hand side here, I get access to the extensive integration offering available from AgilePoint, with more than 70 cloud and on-premises data sources supported, and over 700 workflow actions. Now our goal here is to minimize the amount of code that we're using, and one of the ways to do that is by creating purpose-built integrations with specific actions, such that I can easily drag and drop them from the menu here onto my process designer. Things like Active Directory are going to be very handy in creating on or offboarding use cases with the ability to create user accounts or disable them, as well as assign role or group membership. AgilePoint NX capabilities have also been exposed as a REST API, so very easy to access the platform's capabilities programmatically. Also have integration into leading document management providers like Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, and SharePoint, as well as a number of different types of databases, things like Amazon DynamoDB. This database shape here as an example covers 4 different database providers: SQL, Azure SQL, MySQL, as well as Oracle databases. Integration into the Azure Bot Framework and Cognitive Services if you'd like to layer in artificial intelligence into your applications, as well as the ability to work with consumer products as well, like LinkedIn, Google Drive, PayPal, among others. But let's just take a look at a few of these integrations here and just show you the extent of the integration provided off the shelf. Right, far beyond your basic create, read, update, and delete, in the SharePoint stencil alone, there are more than 35 workflow actions, working with all of the common objects within Salesforce, things like leads, accounts, contacts, opportunities, and cases. Taking SharePoint as another example, more than 65 workflow actions here alone. Essentially, anything that can be done on a manual basis within SharePoint can be automated using AgilePoint. Now taking a look at this application here as an example, you'll see that we have 3 swim lanes, which correlate to 3 user personas who will be participating in this workflow process. At each stage here, we have a task form, which is going to look very similar to the form that we designed just a moment ago. Now we've added in some additional capabilities here in the process side of things to enable us to easily model business logic. Let's take this condition as an example. In this condition, we're evaluating the current state of a piece of equipment and whether or not it needs to be sent for repair or not. So let's go ahead and investigate this condition here. And as you can see, if the grade summary contains grade C, that is going to be an indicator that this piece of machinery needs to be sent for repair. So how do we get that? Well, the grade summary piece here was located on my form, so I just need to find that. There it is. So here's my grade summary. I can just go ahead and remove this for now and just drag this over. I have a series of operators here, and then contains grade C. So just like that, I can easily model business logic, and we'll show you how we've tied this condition to an element on the form. Okay, so if I scroll down a little bit here, I should see a grade summary form field. Oh yeah, here we go. Inspection result. So this is a repeatable component here, so I'm just going to go ahead and click into my subform, and then I can show you the editing capabilities here. All right, and as you can see, here's my inspection result, right, with grades A, B, and C. And if the user does in fact select grade C, right, that would then trigger our condition to send it down the repair path. All right, so as I'm going along here and building my applications, the toolbar at the top is going to come in very handy. Now, as you can see, at this point, I have a great view of the request data step in my process, but I really can't see much else as far as the remainder of the application. So there's a couple of different ways that I can handle that. The first is zooming in and zooming out. If I want to look at specific steps in my process, this is a great way of doing that. I'm going to go back to my standard view here. If I'd like to see the entire application from end to end, then I would select model size here. And as you can see, it gives me a view from start to finish of the application. Now, as you're building your application here, you'll want to maybe clean things up or gain an understanding of the details of the process itself, right? So the first thing I want to highlight here is the ability to align the various tasks in my process. You can see here we have some that are a little out of alignment, so I want to just go ahead and select all of those. And then I can click horizontal alignment to bring these all in line. So let's get to grab that last one. There we go. Right, and very similarly with vertical alignment as well. Now, as I've built my application, I can validate it and check it for any process errors. This one validates successfully. In addition, I can see details about the application itself. So here under Agile Properties, I have a couple of different views, but I'm just going to look at all of the details here, all of the properties of this application. And I can see that it's the process name, right, is product lifecycle. It's triggered by eForms. I am the owner of this application. We expect about a week turnaround or cycle time for this process. And I can also see things like the auditing level as well. I can also see my form data. So under form data here, you'll see the fields that I'm using on my application, on my form. Model data, right? I can easily add new elements to the schema here. If I'd configured any external data sources, they'll show up here, right? As well as system data, right? This is AgilePoint engine information. And then lastly, under global data, we'll see the global variables that we've configured in another video. I can manage any one of the individual forms that are associated with each step in my business process. And under my miscellaneous tab here, have quite a bit of very powerful functionality, right? The ability to rename various tasks, as well as use a custom naming convention. All right, let's give an example of one of those custom naming conventions. As you can see here, I have a custom naming convention previously configured, right? But let's go ahead and show you what this looks like. So I can use a combination of any of these tabs that you're seeing here. All right, so I might use the requested by field as an example, and then pull something out of system data. Let's do one more. Let's do the started date. And click OK. Bring these forms offline, whether that's just one step in the process or the entire application itself, can now be easily brought offline so that I can complete my work despite low or no bandwidth scenarios. A rule inspector will help me understand where business logic has been modeled and the conditions that I should be aware of, as well as the ability to generate a report. Now, I know that a lot of you have probably dealt with requirements documents or documentation that has fallen out of date, right, with the current version of your application. And AgilePoint is really looking to combat that by being self-documenting here. So at any stage, I can refer to this report and get an understanding of all of the different components, who is involved, and the various levels at which business logic has been modeled here. After that, I can simply select Save, Save and Check In, Save as Image, or XPDL or JSON as an example. These two are going to be very handy if you're sending the application to our support team if we're helping you through something. But for now, I'll just simply select Save and Check In. In closing, let's review what we've learned during this video. You now understand the concepts behind workflow actions and using the integrations, how to control process flow using conditions, creating task forms, as well as using the Process Data Explorer to display dynamic data as well as data from external systems. This concludes the content for this video.